Alright everyone, it's time for Vermont issues number 38. First though, a quick thing here. Yesterday YouTube had notification issues, as in nobody got notified of my last upload until about an hour later. So if that happens with this video, I'm going to upload this one first. If that does happen, then I won't be uploading the rest of the videos on YouTube today. I'll wait a week or so and just do everything on VidMe and Daily Motion and see if YouTube continues to pan out for use. My hope is that it'll upload and notify people normally. 38. Storms cause sewage to overflow into Otter Creek and Lake Champlain. Right now we've got a problem with, we've had several large storms, and a lot of sewage, especially here in Rutland, of course, has managed to back up out of the system and into the river. This has happened before. We've also had problems in Rutland with flooding. Some people complained after, I think it was Hurricane Irene. That was a while ago, but it's happened since then too. That the curbstones weren't working properly to keep water from backing up onto their lawns because the drainage system was inadequate at the time for the amount of rain. It's also been a problem up in Burlington. They've had a problem with some of the farms and stuff up there. The runoff gets into the lake and it causes algal blooms. So we do have water issues in Vermont. You got to realize on some of the rural roads, you've got nothing more sophisticated than a simple culvert draining things off the mountain into some stream. You do get runoff. Rutland has actual industry in it and a lot of businesses. And of course produces a great deal of sewage in the city of Rutland. And where does that all end up going? It's supposed to be treated. This was untreated sewage, however, that ended up in the Otter Creek. And the Otter Creek, I think years and years ago, they declared it was heavily polluted, although to my eyes it's like, well, it's a pretty normal Vermont creek. It's polluted by our standards, not necessarily by the standards of most parts of the country. And our water is relatively clean. I've drank unfiltered, unadulterated water from streams out back, you know, that go right next to a main road. I've never suffered any problems from that. Our water is absolutely sparkling compared to most states, but we do sporadically, after a storm, we have the sewage, or the trash flows into some river, flows into some lake. Lake Champlain actually has problems. Lake Champlain, though, is murky to begin with. It's not, you'd think of like, you know, some of these lakes around the country, they're like literally crystal clear. You can see 20 feet down. Lake Champlain is not one of those lakes. It is very filled with sediment, and it's perpetually cloudy. It's a little bit like Loch Ness or something like that. It's just it has to do with the dynamics of the lake itself, the minerals around, the wildlife in it, and so forth. And it's still clean by national standards. In fact, by international standards, is probably amazing, to tell the truth. And now we've got sewage, you know, churning into the lake itself. But people shouldn't worry too much. It's an inordinate amount of water for a relatively small amount of actual runoff. The biggest problem we have in the state is really with algal blooms, because of chemical fertilizer used by some of the farms near bodies of water that drain into Lake Champlain. That's really the big issue. Untreated sewage being totally secondary. When it goes into Lake Champlain, a body of water that size, it gets heavily diluted, taken up by the local wildlife, you know, the zebra mussels and so forth, filter it all out, and then it makes its way into the food chain and gets filtered by actual life forms that are like, oh, yeah, human shit, no, this is going to be a tasty meal. And there are some that'll eat all that slop. There are plenty of bottom dwellers. Now, the biggest worry when you go into Lake Champlain usually is going to be lampreys or something like that. I think there are lampreys in Lake Champlain. I know that they have invaded some bodies of water. I can't remember whether they managed to use lampricide enough to cut down their numbers there, but I know they do attack the fish too. So you might get bitten by a lamprey, which they don't like to talk about. Mostly, though, Vermont is nice and squeaky clean. Trust me, as having gone to other parts of the country, there's no comparison. I remember when I was in Rhode Island, looking at some of the beaches there, literally covered, you know, with trash to the point where you couldn't even see the sand. Yeah, it's a little bit different in the state of Vermont. We don't really have that problem. You go to Lake Champlain, even the so-called sort of dirty hippie beach. Maybe you'll find a roach clip. Maybe you'll find the leftover ashes from somebody's pop pipe or something, or an ice cream carton because someone was too stoned to, they were too lazy to move it or something. That's about all you get. That and, farm runoff and occasionally after a storm, some other trash. But we run a tight ship around here when it comes to keeping things clean. We have like green up day and people go around pick up trash and stuff. And it's all good. That's about all. Peace out.